The sun rose slowly above the quiet neighborhood, and its pale light filtered through the thin curtains of a small room where a young woman named Clara lay awake staring at the ceiling. Her thoughts heavy and restless. She used to love mornings. The scent of coffee, the rhythm of footsteps, the promise of a new day. But ever since the accident, everything felt like a burden. She could not escape the world outside her window seemed to move without her. People rushing to work, children laughing, bicycles passing by while she remained still confined to a wheelchair, unable to feel her legs, and even more unable to feel hope. Her wedding dress hung untouched in the corner, a silent reminder of the day that never came. The man she thought she would spend her life with disappeared, soon after the crash, saying he could not handle the changes that her body and spirit had endured. She had begged him to stay. She had cried until her throat burned, but he walked away leaving her with promises that evaporated like smoke in the air. Clara had once been full of dreams. She was a dance instructor, graceful, confident, full of warmth. She believed that love was unbreakable, but the accident stripped her of movement and left her heart in pieces. Her friends visited, at first bringing flowers and cheerful words, but as the weeks turned to months, their visits faded. Calls became less frequent, messages unread soon. Silence filled the spaces where laughter once echoed. Her parents tried to comfort her, but even they could not hide their exhaustion. The medical bills were mounting, and the endless therapy sessions drained what little savings they had. Clara would stare at her reflection in the mirror, seeing a stranger, someone she did not recognize, someone who no longer belonged anywhere. Yet somewhere deep within her there was still a spark. She did not fully understand it, but it refused to die even when she felt abandoned by the world. She still dreamed of dancing. She imagined herself moving gracefully across a floorlight, as air-free as before. Her nurse often told her that recovery begins in the mind, and Clara wanted to believe that. But most days her strength faltered. She spent hours scrolling through her phone looking at old photos of her students performing routines she once choreographed. It hurt, but it also reminded her of who she used to be. One rainy afternoon, while she sat near the window, lost in thought, she noticed a man standing by the gate holding a small child. Seemed uncertain, hesitant, as if debating whether to approach the door. Clara did not recognize him, but there was something gentle about the way he held the girl, his hand resting lightly on her shoulder as if afraid to let go. After a moment he rang the bell. Her nurse answered, and soon Clara heard voices from the hallway. The man introduced himself as Daniel. He said he was looking for someone who might offer advice about rehabilitation for his daughter who had trouble walking after an illness. The nurse explained that Clara had been through similar struggles and might be willing to share her experience. Daniel stepped inside, his eyes kind and full of quiet strength. He spoke softly, and when Clara looked up at him, she saw no pity, only understanding. The little girl peeked from behind his leg. Smiling shyly, Clara smiled back. For the first time in months, something shifted inside her like a window opening to fresh air. That night, Clara could not sleep. Her mind replayed the brief encounter, the kindness in Daniel's eyes, the trust in his daughter's smile. She did not know why, but she felt lighter, as if something within her had been gently awakened. She whispered to herself that maybe, just maybe, life still had more to offer. Days passed after Daniel's visit, and Clara found herself thinking about him more than she wanted to admit. She could not explain why. But his presence had brought something new into her life, a feeling she had forgotten existed. The next week he returned, with his daughter Lily carrying a basket of fresh muffins they had baked together. The smell filled the room with warmth, and Clara felt an unfamiliar happiness rising within her. Daniel told her that Lily was shy around most people since her mother passed away 2 years earlier. She had struggled to walk after a long illness and still needed therapy. Clara listened intently, offering suggestions and sharing her own challenges. She spoke slowly, her voice trembling at first, but the more they talked, the more natural it felt. She found herself laughing again. A sound that surprised even her. Lily insisted on showing Clara her drawing of a ballerina, the small figure dancing under bright lights wearing a pink tutu. The lines were uneven but full of life, and when Clara saw it, she felt tears sting her eyes. She told Lily that it was beautiful, and Lily grinned, saying that the dancer was Clara because she looked like a princess, even in her wheelchair. Daniel watched silently, a gentle smile on his face, and Clara caught a glimpse of the kindness that seemed to define him. She wondered how he had endured so much loss and yet still managed to smile. He noticed her gaze and said softly that sometimes pain teaches you how to love deeper. From then on, Daniel and Lily visited often, sometimes bringing flowers or food, sometimes simply sitting with her as they talked about music, dreams, and the little things that made life meaningful. Daniel began to fix small things around her. House, a loose cabinet, a squeaky window, a broken light. He never made a big deal out of it, but each gesture felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. Clara felt less like a burden and more like a person again. She began to look forward to mornings, waiting to hear the sound of footsteps outside her door. One afternoon, Daniel surprised her by taking her to the park. He had borrowed a specially designed wheelchair from a friend and insisted that she deserved fresh air. She hesitated, but his encouragement gave her courage. The park was alive with laughter and the scent of blooming flowers. Clara had not been outside in months, and the sunlight on her skin made her heart ache with gratitude. Lily ran ahead chasing butterflies, and Daniel pushed Clara. Along the paths they talked for hours about their pasts, their fears, and what they hoped for the future, for the first time. Clara spoke openly about her ex-fiancé, how he left after her paralysis. Daniel listened without judgment, his eyes full of quiet empathy. When she finished, he simply said that anyone who could walk away from her never knew the meaning of love. Later that evening, they sat by the lake, the sky painted with streaks of pink and gold. Lily tossed pebbles into the water and giggled with every splash. Daniel turned to Clara and told her that she was stronger than she realized, that her story was far from over, and that sometimes life takes everything away only to give back something better. Clara felt her heart tremble. At his words, she wanted to believe him, and in that moment, she almost did. She could feel a strange warmth blooming in her chest, something that scared her and healed her all at once. That night when she returned home, she looked at the old wedding dress again, but this time it no longer felt like a symbol of loss. It felt like a chapter that had closed. Clara whispered a quiet thank you to the universe because somehow through pain and heartbreak, she had found two souls who reminded her that love still existed in kindness, in laughter, and in the courage to begin again. Weeks turned into months, and Clara found herself transforming in ways she had never imagined. She began attending physical therapy with renewed determination, inspired by Daniel's encouragement and Lily's playful cheer. She still had bad days where tears would fall freely and the weight of her loneliness returned. But the visits of Daniel and Lily became a constant anchor in her life. She looked forward to their arrival, counting down the hours until she could hear the soft knock on the door and see Lily's bright smile and Daniel's gentle presence. They would spend entire afternoons together, painting, baking, or simply talking about dreams. Clara began keeping a journal again, writing down thoughts she had long buried, and slowly she started to feel like she had a place in the world. One rainy afternoon, Daniel brought an idea. Clara smiled at him skeptically as he suggested that she try teaching a small class of children how to dance using her upper body. She hesitated, remembering the humiliation she felt when she first realized she could no longer move her legs, but Daniel simply said that everyone has something to give, and nothing is wasted if shared with heart. And so she agreed slowly at first, teaching just 3 children at a community center. She struggled to find confidence in her movements, but Lily held her hand during breaks, cheering her on, and soon the laughter and energy of the children reminded Clara of the joy she once felt dancing. She realized that her body may have limitations, but her spirit could still soar. She began to dream again, imagining performances where she would choreograph routines for children, with all abilities sharing with them not just steps, but the love of movement and the courage to face life. Meanwhile, her bond with Daniel deepened quietly. They shared meals and stories and secrets from years past. He would listen when Clara spoke. About her fears of rejection and loneliness, he would tell her about the challenges of raising Lily alone and losing someone he loved deeply. Their connection grew into something tender and unspoken, something that felt like home. Clara found herself thinking about him, constantly wondering if she could allow herself to love again, and Daniel too seemed to hesitate in fear of crossing boundaries, but his gentle eyes and protective gestures spoke louder than words. One evening when Lily fell asleep, in Clara's lap, Daniel brushed her hair from her face.